What did you do when your child was hurt by someone you trusted? My son had lost the ability to speak because of a terrible accident when he was young, and as a result, he has been introverted his entire life. That's why I was surprised when he told me he had joined the school football team. He was actually doing really well for the first few weeks, but then a new coach joined the team. Coach Wilder had an amazing track record, which meant everyone trusted him with the important decisions. No one questioned him even when he gave the captaincy to his own son instead of the best player. That's why I stayed silent when he singled out my son and started giving him twice the training as everyone else. Things got bad quickly. I watched as my son came home with more bruises each day. He would be puking red, his wrists looked like they had been in chains, and his legs had nerves sticking out. I knew something wasn't right, but he'd signed to me saying, "Normal practice, just need to work harder." He even got benched one time for disobedience. I went to ask how he had been disobedient when he couldn't even talk, but the coach told me to not ask too many questions. The final straw came when the team was headed into the regional playoffs. My son was in the best shape of his life, and this was supposed to be his big moment. But the day before the big game, he came home late, and he wasn't just limping this time, he was literally crawling on the floor. I ran to him and helped him to the couch. I could even see the pain in his eyes. I asked him what happened, and he pulled out his phone and typed out, "Coach told me I wasn't playing." I asked why. He said because he said so. He told me to accept that I'm just a freak, and then he took a bat from the locker room and swung at me until I couldn't stand up. He said, "You think you're special, but really you're just a mute waste of space who doesn't belong on my field." I could barely breathe when I saw what that coach had said to my son. After I rushed him to the hospital, the doctors told me my son had a clean fracture in one leg, but the other one was completely shattered. I received a message from the manager of the team as I was crying, and to my shock, it was a voice memo that she had secretly recorded of the coach saying, "If that mute little golden boy doesn't stay down, then I'll break his legs myself." I ran to the principal's office immediately and shoved that recording in his face, begging him to give my son some justice for his injuries. He took one look at my evidence and scoffed. "That recording is out of context, probably just some locker room frustration. We can't take disciplinary action based on baseless allegations. Besides, Coach Wilder is very established within the industry, while your son might as well have staged his injuries out of jealousy." I stood there frozen, but then my rage took priority over my body. I went to confront Coach Wilder myself. He grinned when he saw me and said, "You mothers are all the same. Crying after your miracle son turned out to be broken?" That was the final straw. His actions and the audacity to insult me like that pushed me over the edge. The next day, I waited behind the bleachers with a metal bat in my hand. When Wilder stepped out to give his pregame speech, I picked up a rock from the gravel path and hurled it at the back of his head. It connected with a thud, and as he was staggering from the pain, I swung the bat right at his nose. I heard a loud crunch, and he went down while screaming. The other players and parents rushed to stop me, but I pulled out my phone and played the recording. Everyone heard the coach admit that he had attacked my son on purpose, and it dawned on them that he could potentially do the same to them. What followed was chaos. Players began kicking the coach in his ribs, and the parents held back the coach's son, forcing him to watch. Meanwhile, I focused on his legs, because if my son can't have his legs, neither can he. The bat I used was covered in red by the time I was done, and his legs looked like loose rope. He was picked up by the paramedics after I left, and even though I waited, the cops never came to arrest me. Turns out he was too embarrassed to recount the incident and press charges. The principal had finally realized the severity of the situation after other parents who heard the recording ambushed him and asked why he hadn't taken any action. He fired the coach and apologized to my son with a public apology. As for my son, he will be healed by next year and will run like the wind with no Wilder to hold him back.